Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo, bateu, golo.
Balotelli, Aguero!
Posse de bola para Portugal, vai Éder, chuta!
Hello and welcome to Panenka's Europe, or Europa a Panenka in Portuguese, a series brought to you by the members of the Portuguese podcast, Os Panenka. In this series, we'll be taking a closer look at the fan projects of the Portuguese team's opponents in the European competitions. We'll be speaking with passionate supporters of these teams, learning about their playing style and what makes them unique. Across the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League, our teams will cross the continent, and today we'll talk about the Sporting Arsenal for the Europa League. For that matter, we're here with Faisal from LatteFirm, one of the leading voices in Arsenal coverage. So, Faisal, how are you doing?
I'm very well, João. Thank you so much for having me today. Today is a special day for us because, as we were talking before, Arsenal beat Bournemouth yesterday in the Premier League with a 97th minute winner. And I was in the ground, and one of the best days of my life. And this morning I've been watching all the highlights again and again. So I'm very happy. And thank you for having me, João.
That's really good, and we'll talk about it a bit. But first, tell me, how did you become an Arsenal fan? And tell me a little bit about your project, LatteFirm.
Sure. So obviously, my name is Faisal. I live in London. I've lived in London my whole life. My father, when I was 7 years old, took me to Highbury, our old stadium. He had some tickets through work as a gift, and it was a Christmas gift for him. He's not into football. He wasn't an Arsenal fan. And originally he said, "Oh, I'll give these tickets to somebody else or to the postman to say thank you or something." And I said, "No, Dad, let's go." So my dad took me. We lost to Wimbledon 3-1. They're an English team in London. This is a long time ago, Joao. Don't worry.
With Arsene Wenger
And
or not?
no.
No,
This
before
is
that.
George
Okay.
Graham. Yeah, this is like
Okay.
I'm a very old man. So we lost the game, and I remember we were walking out of the stadium, and my dad said, "So are you going to support Wimbledon now because they won the game?" And I said, "No, Dad. I love the red and white. Like as a 7-year-old boy going to your first game, I remember the floodlights. You know, it was a night game. I remember the smell of nuts in the air because they used to have burgers and nuts being sold on the street. And I remember seeing the green sort of carpet and the red shirt. I loved the red shirt. And so ever since then, I've supported Arsenal. I've been going to games since I was a boy. I now have a season ticket, so I go to every home game. I go to most away games in domestic competitions. And I've been supporting Arsenal for 30 years now. It's very much part of my life, Joao.
Okay. Are you coming to Lisbon this week?
Well, the thing is, with European games, because I have a job and I have 2 young children, I just can't take the time in the middle of the week. I have quite a big job here in the UK, and taking time is not easy. So European games is very difficult for me. The home games, for sure. So in a couple of weeks' time, I will see you there.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to London, but I will be there in spirit, of course. But talking about Sporting, what do you know about Sporting and about Portuguese football? We were talking a little bit before the episode.
Yeah, Portuguese football. Look, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on Portuguese football. I don't watch the Primeira Division every week, or I don't know much about the history of the clubs. Growing up, Rui Costa was one of my favorite players. Like just so elegant, such a beautiful, finessed, technically gifted footballer. You know, many of your older viewers will remember Rui Costa. Then, of course, in terms of Luis Figo, I mean, one of your greatest academy products, right? Playing at
Yes.
Barcelona and Real Madrid. I mean, what a player he was. And I guess more recently, Sporting Lisbon and Portuguese football was put on the map because of Mourinho and what he did at Old Trafford, and everybody started taking more attention of Porto. Let's not talk about Porto. And then Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, what a player! He's a ridiculous player. And yeah, so I guess as a producer of talent, I think a lot of people look at Portuguese football because you produce so many good players over the years. But I can't say I watch all the games. I have been to Lisbon on holiday. I did go to the ground. It's a nice stadium. I didn't see any games, but in terms of Sporting, I know it's a difficult moment for you guys at the moment. You're one of top 3 teams in Portugal. So you're having a difficult time. But I'm expecting a good game. So for me, from childhood, I've watched a lot of Portuguese footballers, but I don't watch Sporting Lisbon every week. Sorry to say that.
Okay, don't worry, of course. Following this conversation about Portuguese players, what do you think? What's your opinion about Fábio Vieira, that yesterday was a starter in the Premier League for the first time since September? What are your thoughts on him?
So my thoughts are that he's quite an exciting player, and it's quite funny we're talking about Fábio Vieira today and recording today because he hasn't had much game time, like you've just said. And I've been a bit surprised because Granit Xhaka has been playing in the left 8 for so many weeks, so many months now. I'm really excited about Fábio. I think he has a lovely first touch. He plays with a lot of elegance. He scored a great goal away at Brentford in the season, showing that he can, score from long distance. He's a very technically sound player, very clever, but he's a bit lightweight. He's still a young boy. He needs to grow physically, and he'll adapt to the Premier League. And the Premier League is so fast, is so ferocious. The pace is, it can leave you behind sometimes. Yesterday, I thought he played really well, and I was surprised actually when Mikel took him off with 7-8 minutes to go and Granit Xhaka came on. I'm really excited, João. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. He's very intelligent. He has a nice relationship with players like Gabby Martinelli and Martin Odegaard, of course, who he played with yesterday. I think he's going to have a big, big future. So, yesterday was his first start, like you say. Hopefully now with 12 games to go, he can maybe get some more starts, and I think he'll play in the Europa League. So I'm expecting big things. I like him. I like him a lot.
Okay, so now I'm going to give a little data about Arsenal to give a little context to this conversation. So Arsenal have 13 First Division titles, being the last one in 03-04, the Invincibles campaign that every football fan know from heart, by heart. Then you're out of the 2 cups following losses to Man City in the FA Cup and Brighton in the Carabao Cup. You're first in the Europa League group with PSV, Bodo Glimt and Zurich. You played Bournemouth yesterday in an amazing victory. In your history, you played 4 times against Sporting. The first 2 times in the 69-70 edition in the Intercity Fairs Cup, and Arsenal would win this edition of the Cup. In Alvalade, a nil-nil draw, and in London, Arsenal won 3-0 against Sporting. And then the other 2 games were in the Europa League group stage in 2018. So Sporting was beaten in Alvalade by Arsenal 1-0, and in London 0-0. So Sporting never scored against Arsenal, which is not a good stat for us. Then 6 players represented the both clubs. Some of them, Cedric, that if Arsenal will be champion this year, Cedric will get his medal too. Joel Campbell, one big talent that didn't went with the career that he could have had, I think. Ralph Mead, don't know this one. Hector Bellerin, that is in Sporting right now, and is an academy project of prospect of Arsenal, I think.
So, I mean, he joined from Barcelona from a very, very young age, came to London, and then, he came through as a very young kid at Arsenal. And actually, on Hector Bellerin, Joao, we really like him. He's a very, very loyal, long-standing servant of this club. And the best thing about Hector, as he was great at football. I think injury has hurt him. He once he lost his recovery pace, it was very difficult for him to establish himself as a top right back again. But the nicest thing about Hector is the way he carries himself off the pitch. He was exemplary, very, very nice boy. I met him many times. Very interesting character. Has lots of hobbies outside of football. Just a really, really nice guy. And I can't wait to see him back. I think he'll get a really great reception when he comes back to the Emirates.
Okay. And then other 2 players, Rui Fonte, that never played in the A's of Sporting, and Vivienne, that actually never played for any of our clubs, but was contractually obligated with the two of them. So a kind of a rare case. So following all of this data and historical background, explain to me first this Arsenal season, this magic season that may or may not end up with the Premier League. Hopefully it may.
Hopefully we do. But João, honestly, what a season Arsenal are having. I mean, last summer, we finished fifth last season, right? You remember, going to Newcastle away. We had an outside chance of getting into the Champions League, and Spurs beat us. In the summer, it was about rebuilding, and we bought Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko and one or two others. And nobody, not one Arsenal fan could have predicted that we would be here right now. We started the season really well. 8, 9, 10 games on the board. We were top. We've been top for so long this season. Then the target was going into the World Cup and staying top. We went to the World Cup top. The World Cup came and finished, and everybody came back. And then the challenge was, well, can Arsenal hang on? Is the post-World Cup, going to really catch up with us? But we've stayed top. And here we are, my friend. 26 games played. We are 5 points clear of the chasing pack, Manchester City, who are just so good with so many good players and such a great manager. And it's been, like you say, a magical season. Already in this season, we've had so many wonderful moments. Manchester United beating them in the injury time. We beat Liverpool this season, Spurs this season, Chelsea away. Yesterday, 2-0 down against Bournemouth with 30 minutes to play. And then injury time, 6 minutes on the board, and 97th minute we get a winner. And I've lost my voice, which is why I'm so I seem a little bit deep today. But it's been a wonderful ride. And I guess in closing, João, for me, as exciting as it is to be here, I'm also very terrified of heartbreak, because it's the hope that kills you. We didn't think we'd win the league this season. Part of me doesn't think we'll win the league this season, but you can't not be excited. Like, I'm so romantic about this side and everything Mikel's doing. Mikel, what a coach! We have the youngest squad in the league. We have such a thin squad that I'm living the dream, man. It's just amazing.
That's incredible. And I was telling you before the episode, Sporting had a really similar season 2 seasons ago. Sporting was not champion for like 19 years. Arsenal is not, I think, maybe the same exact amount of time. Yeah. And so it was really magical by then, because, as you were saying, it's the hope that kills you. And Sporting, that here in Portugal, we Sporting fans use the word Sporting maybe as a verb to, the Murphy law. Everything that can turn out to be wrong will turn out to be wrong, and will all be chaos in the end for this club. And we use the verb Sportingar for this. And that year, nothing Sporting gated. But yes, it was a really magical season for us too. And I think, or maybe I expect you to be champions this year, because I think Arsenal is not champion for a very long time, and maybe people have a certain empathy for that. Even people that are not fans of Arsenal, But I think the All or Nothing season also really helped that, like, to build an empathy with the club and with Arteta, and backing him in decisions such as like dropping Aubameyang and things like that. So yes, I'm rooting for you. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So next, what are the key players of your club? Which players do you think that are indispensable?
Ooh.
And keep in mind that maybe, and that's our club's hope, Arsenal is really focused on the Premier League. That's the main objective right now. Yeah. So maybe using the subs in the Europa League would be really good, right?
Look, just on the game, I think there's going to be a lot of changes from Arsenal, because, like you say, Joao, the Premier League is our primary target now. It has to be. Maybe a few months ago we'd be thinking differently. Like, Europa League is a priority because we need Champions League football. But now, given that we're 12 games away from something magical, I think Mikel's going to have to be very clever with the squad management. So I expect on Thursday for the first tie. We'll make some big changes. To answer your question about our most important players, it's really difficult because this, like you say about all or nothing, and the way that Mikel has built this culture, this environment, it's very much a team feel at Arsenal at the moment. It's very difficult to pinpoint individuals because everybody is pulling their weight, whether you're goalkeeper, whether you're Ben White at right back or left back, if you're a central midfielder, if you're a goal scorer, every single player is doing their job. I will say my favorite players, I mean, Bukayo Saka is, oh, wow, this guy, what he's doing on this pitch at this age, week after week, he is, wow, he's probably our best player. He's explosive as a winger. He's deadly. A couple of years ago, Joao, I said on my YouTube channel, when Bukayo Saka starts scoring goals, the world is in trouble because he can do everything. He can do everything. And when he scores goals now regularly and scoring important goals, Premier League's in trouble. You look at our captain, Martin Odegaard, who had a difficult career in Real Madrid. Now he looks like he's settled. He's enjoying his football. He's still so young. He really dictates the tempo of our team. And, if he doesn't play on Thursday, that responsibility will come to someone like Fabio Vieira, maybe Emil Smith-Rowe. So Odegaard could be a big miss, but he's a top player. Defensively, Joao, we are phenomenal. You look at Ramsdale, who's been a great goalkeeper. His save yesterday at 1-0 when it could have been 2-0. That's a title-winning save. And then you look at our centre-backs, William Saliba, who is this guy. He's a kid. This guy is a kid, and he's playing in the best league in the world, respectfully, and putting performances like this every week. He might be the best young player I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of young players, Cesc Fabregas, Jack Wilshere, at Arsenal. But what he's doing at this age, Nicolas Anelka, another one, what he's doing at this age in such a position where Arsene Wenger once said, young defenders can cost you points because they make mistakes. And when a defender makes a mistake, it costs you a goal. The guy's incredible. And Gabriel next to him, warrior, total warrior. So if you think about, excuse me, the forwards, you've got Saka, obviously Martinelli and Odegaard defensively, and then the main man in the middle. Thomas Partey. This guy is an octopus. He is legs everywhere, physically strong, dynamic as a midfielder, covers so much ground. But the best thing about him, Joao, is that he's just so press resistant. It doesn't matter how many players try to suffocate him, the ball sticks to his feet like glue, and he gets us going. So it's difficult to answer like who is our most dangerous player or best player. But I think when you think about the team and all of the different roles, the whole team is just so good. And we have so many good players that can make a difference. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think for Thursday, we'll see some changes. I think Matt Turner will come in goal for Aaron Ramsdale. I think tomiyasu might get another game because Ben White finished the game yesterday. Defensively, maybe our new signing, Jakub Kivior from Serie A. He might make his debut. Kieran Tierney, I would expect to play left back because Zinchenko, excuse me, has been playing a lot of games. In midfield, I think we're a bit light, so maybe Granit Xhaka will play because he was a substitute yesterday. I expect Fabio Vieira to play. Emil Smith-Rowe might get a few more minutes, and I think Eddie Nketiah will come back into the team up front. So yeah, I'm expecting quite a few changes, but hopefully it's enough to maybe get a good result.
Okay, hopefully just for you. But how would you describe your playing style?
It's a great question, Joao. 2-3 years ago when Mikel came to the club, it was about being intelligent and playing teams with inferior talent and, trying to play counter-attack, trying to be smart with the players. Now, he's built this squad of players that are playing so well together that we are all about control, all about possession. We want to control the game. We want to suffocate our opponents. We want to dominate the game. We are, we want ball possession. We need to, we are a recycling machine. Every time we lose the ball, we're very quick at winning it back. And we love to build up, slow, patient build up. We will go side to side. We will go back to front. We will go through you. We will go around you. We are a machine. And it sounds ridiculous because It's just ridiculous because a year ago we weren't like this. You know, we had a if you look at like past maps, it was like a horseshoe, you know, like a horseshoe in
Yeah.
you know, that was like the style of our play. We'd go down one side, we couldn't get through, we'd go back and around the other side. But now the penetration coming from all over the pitch, and the biggest difference, well, this season is we have multiple goal scorers. Saka scoring, Martinelli scoring, Odegaard is scoring, nketiah is scoring, Jesus is scoring. Goals are coming from all over the pitch. So to,
Yesterday I saw a stat that you have 15 different goal scorers in the Premier League, I think.
yeah, every single player now in the senior squad has scored a goal this season. Also in the Premier League, in the top 10 goal scorers, we have 3 players from Arsenal. We don't have one outstanding player like Haaland or Kane, you know, someone who's leading the race, but we have 3 or 4 players that have scored, you know, 10, 11 goals each in all competitions. And that's massive. And I guess for an opposition, we're harder to play. It's more unpredictable because you don't know where the goal is going to come from. So to conclude in terms of our playing style, Mikel Arteta will instruct Arsenal to go to Lisbon and to take control of the game. We will want more possession. We will press you relentlessly until we win the ball back. We will try to dominate and we'll try and go down both sides. You know, Martinelli, if it is Martinelli and Saka, those are the guys that are going to cause havoc and running behind your defenders. So that's how I expect us to play.
Okay. And now, just to finish, predictions for the 2 games. What do you think that will happen?
I'll answer this in 2 ways, if I may, Joao, in terms of
Okay.
what I think will happen and what I want to happen. I think it's important that we go to Sporting and we don't get beat on Thursday. You know, we need to avoid defeat. Obviously, the team will go there to try and win. We want to win. That's obvious. But I think it's important that we don't get beat. And I think you will probably not score in London again when you come back because we need to dominate that game. But what I think will happen is because there are a number of changes that I think Mikel will need to make for this game. I think you have a chance on Thursday to maybe surprise and to maybe, you know, if your fans are, you know, it's going to be a big game, big atmosphere. It's an exciting fixture. You know, Europa League getting serious now. If you score first, if you start well, then, you know, maybe you have a chance of doing some damage on Thursday. But I think over 2 legs, we should go through. So listen, I think maybe a score draw on Thursday, 1-1, 2-2, and then come back to the Emirates and hopefully if we play our strong team, maybe by then we'll beat you, you know, sort of 2 or 3-1 and on aggregate go through. Sorry to break your heart, man.
Okay, no worries. But you were talking about how, you know, the 12th man can make the difference. But just to tell you that our club is a little, you know, divided. Our club's board is not at all good dealing with our fans. The tickets prices are really high, you know, from not just in comparison to other clubs, but with the Portuguese, what an average Portuguese makes of money, you know, every week. So it's really high, and you know, the our club's board does not like the ultras at all. So it's a little bit difficult in that area. But in a normal year, in a normal season, yes, we would be the best fans ever, you know.
Well, I mean, just on that as well, obviously Arsenal have had some difficult moments, you know, when we went for the European Super League, caused a big divide. When
Yes.
Unai Emery took over from Arsene Wenger, caused a big divide. Even when Arsene Wenger was leaving the club, there were fans who wanted him to stay, wanted him to go. We've had a very frosty relationship with the Cronkies and KSE. And what I'll say to you is that at some moment, you will have a feeling of unity because you'll see something on the pitch, or you'll have a manager that just brings you together, or you'll have an Amazon document that, like you say, all or nothing. But also, even if you're going through a turbulent time at the moment, a fixture like Arsenal, who are currently the best team in England, coming to your ground, you know, that is a night that I think, even though you have the differences in your club and the fans, and it should bring you all together, and you know it's going to be a spectacle. And I think, you know, if you guys might enjoy on Thursday. So, you know, we've been through a lot as a club, and I can appreciate you have your own difficulties at the moment, but it'll come back, man. It'll come back.
Thank you. And just for me to give my predictions for the 2 games too.
Sure.
I kind of agree with you. I think Sporting may shook Arsenal at Alvalade because Arsenal will play some of the subs and Sporting can make an upset. And then let's say that Sporting wins at Alvalade. Then I think it will be like a test of faith for Arteta. Like, okay, now what do? I will play all the best players in the Premier League and in the Europa League, maybe, putting in danger the next Premier League game. Will I be doing that? I think it will be a really test of character by then. I think it's really important to win at home to, create that all instability in Arteta's mind, I think. But I think we're done here, Faisal. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, João. It was a real pleasure to meet you. And sorry, obviously, for yesterday. I know you wanted to record yesterday, but children get in the way. But listen, good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully, we enjoyed 2 very enjoyable games, but hopefully, of course, I hope Arsenal win.
Don't worry about yesterday, man. Thank you so much for a lovely conversation, and good luck for the rest of your season too. Please win the Premier League because I do not like Manchester City at all. A lot of ex-Benfica players there.
Of course.
I really like Arsenal, and please win the Premier League, and forget about the Europa League that only overloads the calendar. It's not necessary at all. So thank you so much for this conversation, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you, João. Take care. Bye-bye.
Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly. Origi.
Está isolado Cristiano Ronaldo. Vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo. Mete.
Balotelli. Aguero.
Posse de bola para Portugal. Vai Éder. Chuta.